Hi, I'm Sarah from Heirloom Creations, and we feature a Sewtopia sewing club in the summer that's a hands-on session. Over the last couple of years, we've come up with some real unique projects as we host somewhere between 40 and 50 people at 3 different sessions. So this year, we decided to use the technique from the miniature or mini mosaic quilts by Paula Doyle. Had some fun with it. So everybody went home with a block ready to stitch. All they had to bring were scissors, and we provided them with all the tiles ready to place. Kind of fun. So what we have is tiles that were cut 1.5 inches, where they finish out of 1 inch finished. But many of Paula's blocks in her book are actually start 1 inch and finish 1/2 inch. So everything is really, really small. But if you've done this type of technique before, where you lay it on the interfacing and you fold it and stitch it, which we're going to show how you do it, you haven't done it probably with half square triangles, quarter square triangles, and any of the other shapes that you'd want, and just been left with traditional squares. So this is going to take you beyond. And if this is of interest to you and you want perfection in your piecing when it comes to miniatures, you will want to pick up one of these books. Let's show you how, and also we will include some pictures from our actual Sewtopia sewing club at the end of this video. First, in the book, there is a sheet of paper that is gridded that you put underneath your interfacing. And you just want to use a very lightweight interfacing, and the grid is specific. Now, there is gridded interfacing, but it has very fine lines. This actually is a little bit thicker lines, which leaves us the gaps. Can you see a little bit of the white space between here? It makes it actually easier to fold it when we go to sew it later. So as we lay out our grid, and we're going to just finish up by placing our colors on here. I will tell you, you don't have to be perfect. So if they're a little sideways, no big deal. Don't try to get them exact, but just kind of get them close. Now, for the half square triangles, this is what we do. We take freezer paper squares and we actually fuse them, because freezer paper has a waxy side. Waxy side's going to go down. So for our class, we had all the strips pre-sewn and folded or pressed open on the back side. And then what we had everybody bring scissors for was because they needed to cut out these pieces. You don't really want to use rotary cutter, because if you are doing the miniature ones, this is definitely, well, we'll just say much easier just with a pair of scissors. So you can just go through and cut out all your squares. And one thing nice on here is these will be bias edges so they don't unravel as you're working with them. We also used the Shape Cut Plus to cut all these squares, since we had quite a few to cut for our class, and we really didn't want to spend a lot of time doing that. That's a great way to cut up squares in mass quantities. I would recommend checking out our blog, as we will post other pictures from this event, and check out anything else special that we have posted. Never know what might be up there. All right, we're going to just take these little pieces here. And with freezer paper, it is reusable. So these were actually the pieces we used in class. I just had them put them all back in the box for me, because I could still use them for quite a few other projects. And since they were all cut and ready to go. Okay, so we're just going to take these all off the back side. I gotta sometimes get a hold of the seam if you can't find a corner that wants to let go. Do those. Okay, next is just a matter of laying these triangles out so they are pointed in the right direction here. I am going to give these a couple spins. We also made up a little cheat sheet for the class that I actually had them use, and then so that way nobody had a problem getting their corners go in the right direction. I'll lay those down there. But look, everything's all perfect, and we're going to just lay those in for piecing. Okay, once you get all the pieces, we'll put one more block in that corner. I highly recommend an applique pressing sheet. That way, because there is a little bit of interfacing showing, and one little note, make sure your interfacing is bubble side up. I had to check our group, because we had a few people just pressing and pressing and at this next step, and they're like, it's not sticking. Well, they had quite pressed their interfacing to our ironing table, but that was okay. It just comes off. Applique pressing sheet. then nothing sticks to your iron. And if you had the bubble side up, it was all good. So then when you're ready to stitch, what you're going to do after you've pressed this all, you're going to just fold it over, and you'll notice it's going to crease really easy right along where the tiles come together. That's why we left that little bit of gap. You can take it to your sewing machine, regular 1/4 inch seam allowance down every single row. 1, 2, 3, 4, and continue. Then when you're done, you're going to need to slice open the interfacing. Just take your scissors and slice it open so you can press those seams open on the back side. This will help the bulk and really make it lay flat. Then you're going to repeat. You're going to fold your pieces the other direction, stitch, stitch, every 1/4 inch, or I should say every seam, just a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then also slice it open and press those seams. And then you've got your block ready to go. Here's another block that we did, kind of fun. And it was just neat to kind of play with smaller pieces, and they all turned out perfect. So what we have here in the book is other ways to make, look how tiny these are. 1/4 square triangle squares, the 2 on the side and the bigger triangle there. And even here, this was the larger piece with the offset corner. That was actually the pieces I needed for all of these. So there's all sorts of different combinations for the tiles and quilt blocks featured in the mini Mosaic quilts.